What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Brave and Faithful podcast. I'm your host, Raymond Dionisio, and today I have a Marine veteran. He is the founder of Rucking to Remember, helping us always to remember our fallen heroes. Keith Bridges. What's going on, Keith?
Hey, how you doing, Warrior?
Hey, so I mentioned you're a Marine. Can you just share with us a little bit about your service? When did you serve, and what did you do in the Marine Corps?
No, absolutely. First, let me say, on behalf of the entire R2R team, the board of directors, myself, we appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. So we're grateful for that, and thank you for the invite.
Well, thank you for taking the time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Joined the Marine Corps in 1998. I'd like to say it was right out of high school, but it wasn't. I was a little bit older and really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Knew I wanted to do something service related. The Marine Corps made sense. I mean, that's like my family legacy. As far back as as I can recall. So joined the Marine Corps in '98. Of course, went through boot camp, SOI, and then ended up with as an 0313 designator. So went to crewman school, LOV crewman school, and then got punched out to second LAR, Camp Lejeune, in December of that year. And so then I spent 8 years with LAR there in Lejeune. Med Pump in 2000, and then Fallujah in 2004, went back in 2005, and then punched out in 2006, which there's a little bit of a story behind that. I'd actually put in my reenlistment package. I knew I was going to be a career Marine, but my wife and kids had other plans. And so I came home on leave. That year is, I'm going to say I guess it was July of 6. And my oldest son, met me at the airport with my wife. And I was waiting on my luggage. And he said, he's like, "Dad, we got to talk." And so I'm like, "What's on your mind?" And he said, "Well, I think we should sit down." So I knew it was something important.
How old was
And
he
he asked me one
when this
question.
was going on?
Yeah, so 13. So he's
Wow.
13. He's a young man. And so he asked me one question. And that question was, when are you going to come home and be a full-time father? Like, wow. Because at that point, I mean, we weren't even in the same state. And I was deploying. And, he's like, "You've been a father of these Marines for 8 years. When's it my turn?" So I made a decision. I went back, pulled my package, and got out of the Marine Corps, and the rest was history after that. Came home and was a husband, was a father, did some things, stateside with like fire department, FD, PD, until they graduated and got out of high school. And then I started going back overseas with Department of State. I guess that would have been in 2013. I started going back overseas with DOS. So I mean, that's like the 50-cent version of the dollar question. My time in the Marine Corps, I ES E5, so I was a sergeant when I got out. Again, like I said, I was with LAR for my tenure. It was a great time. I loved it, and had every intention of retiring. But life had other plans, so I don't regret it. My decision. I made the right one for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And, and then was still able to, later on in life was able to go back down range and deploy in a different capacity, but still to support, the, U.S. interests and at that point, the diplomatic mission, providing security on PSD teams for out of the embassy in Kabul. So.
Yeah, that's so just to quick overview, you spent all your time in the Marine Corps here in Lejeune with 2nd LAR.
Correct.
8 years, 3 combat deployments, and then finally, you got that talk with your then 13-year-old son. Pretty impactful question, right? Like what he asked you, and obviously that kind of led to your decision in getting out of the Marine Corps. So can you just talk to us about your transition out of the Marine Corps? Obviously you left to spend more time with family and things like that. How was that transition for you as far as like trying to get back on your feet and doing what you can to provide for your family?
Yeah, it's I'll be honest, it was difficult. I mean, so you can imagine 8 years in the Marine Corps. So my kids were young. I didn't really have, I wasn't, I raised Marines, I mean, and it was different. It was a different time, and I raised them in, and a lot of them in a combat zone. So then to try to transition and go home and live in the civilian sector, and try to transition from being a Marine to a father, it was difficult. And then of course, then trying to work in the civilian sector, you start running into issues that, you really don't have in the service. And, that's like structure and organization and discipline and things like that. So, I mean, it was a tough transition. It took me a couple of years. If I'm being completely honest, it took me a couple of years. And, I had to, basically what I had to do is fill the gap. I had to fill the gap with like the fire department. So I did that. I volunteered for the fire department for 5 years. I volunteered with like the Red Cross. Then I decided, I went into, I was like, I got to do something that's more applicable to my skill set. So I started looking at law enforcement. And then my kids were getting to an age too, where, they were starting to get out of high school. They're trying to figure out what they wanted to do. They went off into the service. I've got, one in the Marine Corps, one in the Air Force, and one in the Army. So, I mean, they've pretty well covered the spectrum. So then for me, it was, I kind of always had that, I had that pull, that drive to go back overseas.
Okay.
We were still over there, turning over rocks and whatnot. So, I really felt like that's something I needed to do. Marine Corps wasn't really an option at that time. I did research, maybe trying to go back in, maybe trying to go reserve side and then active duty from there. But, budget cuts and downsizing, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So DOS seemed like the next best, option, provided me an opportunity to go to Afghanistan. I hadn't been, I wanted to go, I wanted to support, America's interest. And, so that's what I ended up doing. And like I said, I went downrange with them in 13, 5 deployments with DOS, in support of the diplomatic mission. And now I'm back home and coincidentally going through the law enforcement academy again to try to get back on the road and research, get back on the road and provide a service to the community. I feel like I could still do that. I feel like I still got enough left in the tank that, I can provide a service. And that's really all I've done my entire adult life. So, it just makes sense.
You mentioned DOS. Can you just explain to us briefly what that is?
Yeah, so Department of State, they put out contracts to really, there's like 5 primes. You got DynCorp, SOC, Constellus, which now is comprised of Triple Canopy and Academy, and there's several others. And then you have, was Aegis, now it's Garda. They put out contracts to provide security, like PSD teams, protective security details, or PSS, protective security specialists throughout the world. So Iraq, Afghanistan, not currently, obviously, because of current events. That mission has been stalled, due to current events. But essentially, you're supporting your diplomatic mission, and so you're providing like mobile PSD or static or mobile PSD for Department of State personnel, politicians to support the diplomatic mission out of the embassy, American, U.S. embassies around the world. They predominantly, you'll see a lot of your contractors are prior service military, just because we have experience, especially over the last 20 years, just being downrange in those environments. Right. And so again, for me, it was, for a lot of jokers, it's an opportunity to go make a lot of money. A lot of your young bucks will stand by. Sorry about that. A lot of your young warriors will take these contracts to go make a lot of money. I did it for a different reason. I'm a little bit older. I don't see the money. My family does. For me, it was just about getting back overseas, and honestly repaying, paying a debt, and that debt is not monetary. So it was really, for me, it was twofold.
Yeah, you want to continue to serve.
Absolutely.
And obviously do what you felt was trying to do your part within our country. So
yep.
So just kind of reading up your website, Rucking to Remember. You mentioned before one of the reasons why you started this is because you felt like our fallen service members or our nation's heroes were being forgotten. And
yep.
You started basically the ruck in remembering one of your lance corporals, right? One of your Marines. Can you just talk to us?
That's correct.
Yeah, can you just talk to our audience about the backstory in with Rucking to Remember?
Yeah, we so as the years, as we progressed into over the course of several years and into the wars, we got into the the mid and late 2000s. It just kind of seemed like it was no longer headline news. And of course, we all know when it's not headline news, we're worried about what's happening today. And so, but those families, they never forget. They live with it every day.
Right.
Those of us that served with the warriors that are no longer with us, we live with it every day. Though, friends, close friends that they remember it every day. And so for me, it just, it really just became a mission to keep it on the radar, so that people don't forget that, we enjoy the freedoms that we have in this country. We enjoy the opportunities that we have. We sometimes we take for granted or those opportunities and those freedoms, but they came at a cost, and that cost is not monetary, and that cost, can never be repaid. It's eternal. And I didn't want the legacy of those words to just go down in a history book. I wanted it to stay, fresh on our minds, on the radar. Like everything that we do, it somebody paid a price for that. You hear it all the time. Freedom isn't free, and it's not. And some would argue that these warriors signed the contract. Well, they did. They're 1% of the nation that did that. They said, you know what, I'll go and fight for you, even though I don't know you. I'll go and fight, and I'll defend our country and our nation and all that we stand for. And so it just kind of seemed like that it was falling off the radar a little bit. So I wanted to do something very impactful. And honestly, at the time, something that nobody was really doing. I mean, my first ruck was in 2015. And at that time, obviously rucking now is huge, but in 2015, it just wasn't that prominent. You just didn't hear about it a whole lot outside of the military. And even now, a lot of people, you talk to them about rucking, they don't know what it is. Those are getting fewer and farther between, because rucking now, everybody's rucking. But I was actually in Afghanistan, and I was talking to my wife back home, and I told her, I said, hey, when I come home, I think I'm gonna ruck, and I'm gonna ruck for Lance Corporal Dinkum and his honor. It just made sense that he would be my first ruck. That was one of my young warriors, and honestly, I took responsibility then. I've always taken responsibility. I'll take responsibility until I take my last breath. That warrior is no longer with us, quite frankly, because I made a bad tactical decision. And, unfortunately, he and his family and those close to him, they have to live with that for the rest. They paid the price, and they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. So, so I came home, and 2 weeks after I got off the plane, I rucked a 50K in Carthage, Missouri, on the Ruby Jack Trail, 45 pounds, boots and utes. And it's kind of funny. I contacted the race director, and I asked him. I said, "Do you have any stipulations against rucking?" And he didn't even know what it was, and at the time. But what it did was so that went out on social media. that went out on their website, the race coordinator's website. Anyway, long story short, like 30,000, it reached like 30,000 people. Wow. We're talking about this young warrior. You know, they were posting his picture. They were talking about, you know, they were talking about him. They were saying his name, and you know, and then we were able to share that with his mom, with his brother, you know, and so that they know, hey, we remember. People remember. We didn't forget. They didn't forget. You know, they're saying his name. They're talking about him. They're posting his picture, and she was able to see that. And so after seeing the impact that had on his family, you know, it really got the wheels spinning. And, you know, how can we do this for, and at the time, for the Marines that I'd served with, that we had lost. And then obviously, you know, it didn't take long for us to come to the realization that the Marine Corps wasn't the only branch of service that was, that was engaged and that was suffering casualties. So we started looking at numbers. We started looking at putting, you know, coordinating and putting events together, participating in events, getting the word out. And so in July of 2019, we legitimized as a nonprofit organization. And so for the last 2 years, our mission goal has just been, you know, honoring a different warrior every day, rucking for that warrior, going out and raising awareness, talking about them, you know, our fallen service members, talking with their families, reaching out, offering, scholarships in honor of their service member. And we'll continue to do that until we've honored, you know, I think to date now we're at 7,067 casualties of war. So, you know, it's a big number, but, you know, we've got a phenomenal team. Everybody, you're a part of the team. You know, you are Rucking to Remember. Everyone that all 2008 team members on Instagram and 3,200. And I think we're at like, you know, 58 or 9 on Facebook, all team members. Everybody who participates in whatever that looks like in any capacity is a team member. And quite frankly, is, you know, the reason we're able to do what we do. So, you know, that's the foundation of the organization, and it's solid. And now we're just, you know, we're building on it. You know, so like I said earlier, you know, we're just, you know, we're proud to have you on the team, and we're grateful for this opportunity this platform that you provided us. So,
well, salute to you, brother, man, to you and your team for what you guys are doing, just to, you know, obviously honoring our fallen service members and making sure that, like you said, just making sure that they're not forgotten, right? You know, we were talking offline about some events.
No, absolutely.
We were talking about some events that were coming up. Can you just share with our audience some of the events that you have coming up here in the near future?
Right. So actually tomorrow, you know, tomorrow's the 20th anniversary of you know, the attacks on 9/11. So we, in commemoration and tribute, you know, every year we host an event locally at the Veteran Cemetery. We go out and, you know, we take, the event consists of a 9.11K ruck. The event starts at 9:00, ends at 1100. We, you know, it's free. There's no registration fee. You show up, and you don't have to ruck. You can walk, you can jog, whatever that looks like to you. You can just, you know, offer words of encouragement. But one thing that we do, you know, another option we have for for anyone that shows up is we take 2,997 flags. That was the casualty count from the attacks 9/11, and we outline with those American flags 911. We got a huge banner. It's just never forgotten. And then the date 9/11/2001. You know, and then we've got ruckers out rucking. We're carrying the American flag. Pre-ruck, we you know, we sing the national anthem. We say a prayer, and then we have a few words. Then we step off, and it's really just about remembering that day in history. I mean, that's an iconic day in American history. It's the inception of the war on terror. And, so I think it's important to remember where we started, and then obviously never forget, so we're hosting that tomorrow. And then in October, November, we've got a 365-mile ruck. We'll be on the West Coast. It kicks off late October. We touch down Veterans Day. That 365, we did one last year in your neck of the woods. Actually, we started out of Lejeune and we ended at Arlington. We do that to honor the 365 service members that we've featured, throughout that year. And so we'll do that every year. So every year we're at 365, same time, different locations. And, it's just about, again, honoring their memory, remembering their sacrifice, letting the families know that they're, that we haven't forgotten, that we're willing to put in the, the time and the effort, and make, physical and emotional sacrifice that it takes to ruck a 365, raise awareness. And then, honestly, in the back end of that, to generate funds to support the Memorial Scholarship, our Memorial Scholarship Fund. And then at the end of the year, 22 graduating class, right now we've got 8 confirmed scholarships. Those are $1,000 scholarships. So we've got 8 confirmed. And I think we're probably going to end up with 12. It looks like we're on track for 12. And with the scholarship program, that gets the families involved. They are literally involved in every aspect from beginning to end. So they write the criteria. They work with the scholarship committee, the local high school. They select the recipient, unless, of course, the service member had children, and then it goes to their children. And then the presentation of the scholarship. And so it gets the families involved, the communities involved. It offers a opportunity for a young student to further their education. And quite frankly, then it carries that service member's legacy into the future with that student, So, we really felt like scholarships was probably the best way to go as a nonprofit. They're sustaining, they're generational, and so that's what we decided on. And we felt like that was the most appropriate way to honor, those fallen service members long-term, the longevity of it.
Yeah, so Keith, you and your team, man, you guys are doing a lot of great things, obviously, with honoring the fallen. And then you mentioned providing scholarships and all the different events that you have going on throughout the year. What would you say? Can you just share some of the most rewarding moments or experiences you've had since you've started Rucking to Remember?
Wow. I would say that we've had a lot of very emotional moments with families, and I wish I could share those moments with the entire team, with everyone, but we're just not able to do that, for a couple of reasons. One, we want to protect, the integrity of the family's emotions. We want to protect the sanctity of their emotions. And two, if I could take, right now we're, like I said, we're right at +6, right at 6,000 strong. If I could take everyone and, with us, and when we present or when we talk with a family and we sit down and have lunch, or we're on the phone or we're DMing or messaging back and forth, and, I can share that, that would be phenomenal. But, probably just seeing just the impact that it has on the family. Imagine, put yourself in their shoes. You have a family member that that becomes a casualty of war, and then you carry that with you, and now all of a sudden you look up one day and there's 6,000 Americans that are people that honestly from around the world, even that that's carrying a little bit of that with you, so it gives them a shoulder to lean on, and it gives them it gives them a little bit of hope. It gives them a little bit of reprieve as well. They don't carry that alone, and so that's, I would say that just the community response, or the response from their local communities, the service members' local communities, and then honestly the entire team, just the country as a whole, everybody that comes together and support those are probably some of the most memorable. It's almost, honestly, it's the emotions sometimes, are so overwhelming that it's almost indescribable. That's a really, that's sort of an all-encompassing question. That I think we could probably, that's a show in itself. I mean, we could talk about that and cover the we could cover that over the course of an entire, podcast. But, I think just being able to share the mission and then see the impact that it's having, probably, I would say, and the support is the most, some of the most memorable. And so, we're definitely grateful, for the support, and for the families of the fallen. And I can tell you personally, I can tell you that they are as well. So
Keith, before we go to our second segment of the podcast, what's one thing you want our listeners to take away from this episode?
Just remember our fallen, say their name. We owe it to them not to, to never forget. I know that we say that a lot, never forget, honor their memory, remember their sacrifice. But I mean, it really, like, ingrain that, instill it in your daily life and everything you do. Remember that when you have when your day is tough, somebody else's day is tougher. When your day, you have when somebody always has it, somebody's day is always a little bit harder than yours. And put things in perspective. Remember that when you look across the room at your family members, there are some families out there that that no longer have that opportunity. When they look at their family member, it's in a photo. So it's a photo they're looking at. That when they go to visit, oftentimes it's it's at a gravesite. So just don't take things for granted. Don't take life for granted. Enjoy cherish those moments you have to spend with your loved ones, and then remember, those that no longer have that opportunity.
Most definitely, man. You got to enjoy the life that you've been given, and obviously pay respect to those that are no longer with us, who sacrifice for that freedom that we all have. So Keith, going into our second segment here of the podcast. So this is what I call the Fast Five. Same 5 questions asked all my guests. First question though, other than rucking, right? What's one hobby you enjoy?
Oh, wow. I probably spend too much time on the range. I probably spend too much time downrange. That's I put on the Peltors, I go downrange, it just, everything kind of gives me an opportunity to really clear my head, think, about a lot of things, and just everything, just, it's all of the how do I want to say this? There's a lot going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And that sort of just goes away for a little bit.
Yep. Second question, if you had to choose one person to hang out with for one day, who would it be and why?
Lance Corporal Dinkum. I'd love one more day with that word. Excuse me. Sorry.
No worries.
The why, he was just a phenomenal kid. I mean, he was full of life and energy. He was vibrant. Just the kind of person that that you want to be around. you know, and then I think, you know, just to just, sorry, bud.
No worries, brother.
Just to, you know, just to tell him, you know, just tell him I'm sorry.
I think
we'd have a lot to talk about.
I think this helps, man. Like, I think we all need to do this more often. It's just, you know, reaching out to one another and help us get through these tough times whenever we do have them. Is just, you know, just talking to somebody, talking to a buddy, doing a buddy check, right? Just making sure everybody's good and they have somebody that they can talk to and share their experiences with. So I appreciate you for sharing that, Keith. Next question, Keith, recommend a book for our audience to read.
Best what?
Recommend a book for our audience to read.
You cut out a little bit.
Yeah, recommend a book.
Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
The Art of War. Okay.
Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Yep.
Next question. What's your favorite quote and why?
Oh, that's a good one. Favorite quote and why? My platoon sergeant said once, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. That stuck with me. You know, I probably fall back on that more than anything.
And I mean, you can apply that,
you know,
to anything.
And you can apply that to anything in life.
Yeah, most definitely. Last question, Keith. Where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, or even 10 years from now?
You know, a year, you know, hopefully a little further down the road, my health holds up, and a little further down the road, you know, Law Enforcement Academy graduate in May, you know, so hopefully I'm providing a service to the community at that time. 5 years, you know, raising some grandbabies and being a better influence on them than I was on my own. You know, and then 10 years from now, you know, hopefully just trying to lick the wounds a little bit, maybe enjoy life and you know, in a position where, you know, with the organization that it's self-sustaining and you know, and we're you know, we're just at a point where we're so overwhelmed, you know, we can't keep up. But you know, the goal is, like I said, the goal is 7,067 service members, you know, 10 years, 20 years, whatever that takes. Maybe my, you know, the team, you know, once my time here is tenured, they'll continue the mission and you know, but I think 1, 5, and 10 year, where do I see myself? 1, 5, and 10. I think that's pretty solid. You know, that's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, awesome, man. Again, Keith, you know, I appreciate you for what you're doing. Obviously, in honoring our fallen service members, you know, taking care of the families that they left behind with the scholarships, and, you know, holding these different events throughout the year in honor of our fallen, man. And I can see it in your face, and how you talk about what you're doing with the organization, and it truly means a lot. I know that it truly means a lot to you, and I wish we can have more people like you, man. And thank you.
You know, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your words. You know, your sentiment. It's something different for everybody. It's going to be different for you. It's going to be different for, you know, for everybody. For me, it's very personal. You know, and not just, you know, for me, it's personal. and not just not just because of the backstory, but it's if you when you our mantra is no excuses. And the reason for that is because our service members, they go downrange in some of the most arduous conditions, and they make no excuses, and so having been there with them and knowing what they went through, and then again, having a very close relationship with the families, it becomes personal. So it's going to be something different for everybody. For me, like I said, it's personal. It's going to be something different, for every member of the team. So you just have to make it yours. You have to embody it and make for whatever it is, whatever that reason is for you, you have to own it.
Yeah. So Keith, before we go, I just want to give our audience an opportunity. Where can they support your organization? Where can they support you? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, no. Hey, join the team. It's not about supporting me or following me. Join the team. You become Rucking to Remember. You become the organization. You can do that at Rucking, the number 2, remember.org. On Facebook at Rucking, the number 2, remember, and Instagram at Rucking to Remember. So, I get this question a lot. I'll close with this. The number 2 is very indicative of, the day that warrior became a casualty, April 2nd, the day, and then the unit second LAR. So it's really kind of indicative of and commemorative of for those reasons.
Well, awesome, man. Again, Keith, thank you for sharing your story, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon, brother.
No, thank you for having us on, and absolutely, we'll stay in touch.
All right, take care.
Appreciate it.